Yes guys, welcome back to another Fantasy Football Fix YouTube video. My name is FPL Nacho, and in this video we are going to be looking at the top transfers going into game week 14. It's safe to say a lot of FPL managers have already made significant moves, and I'm going to discuss those players that a lot of managers are buying. So as always, if you are new around here, please do consider smashing that subscribe button, and if you're looking forward to today's video, please do drop a like. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. So first up, there's no better place to start than talking about Brentford's Mbeumo, one of the most bought players going into game week 14. The problem with game week 13 was a lot of managers had a bit of uncertainty around the likes of Jarrod Bowen. They were deliberating what to do with him. A lot stuck with Bowen, and they ended up not getting lucky with him appearing. Game week 14, we don't know the assessment right now on Jarrod Bowen, but I would say to you, wait off on selling Bowen to Mbeumo for now, as we do have Europa League football, which should give us an indication whether Bowen is actually going to be available. But Mbeumo right now is the hot property in FPL, and you can see why with this brilliant fixture at home against Luton in game week 14. And beyond that, the fixtures are still really favourable for Brentford. Brighton away, yes, they are a good team, but defensively, they haven't really been watertight defensively. Sheffield United away, probably the pick of the bunch right now, the worst team in the league based on underlying numbers. And then Aston Villa at home. I think Aston Villa at home is an okay fixture. If it was at Villa Park, I would think very differently. Now, we've only got the next 4 fixtures, but I do want to note that game week 18 is a blank for Brentford and, of course, Mbeumo. So if you are in the market for Mbeumo, please do just remember game week 18 is a blank, but there is some thought that game week 20 could be a double for Brentford. So you kind of ride the lows with the highs in this situation. But I still think Mbeumo is a brilliant option this game week. Now, looking at the underlying numbers, you can see here, he rose in price a couple of nights to 7 million. He's getting quite pricey right now. 0.55 XG. Now, of course, that does include penalties, but that's a really good thing when we're looking at FPL options. I believe his non-pen XG is around 0.43, so it's still really decent even when we take out the penalties. And his expected assist is also great at 0.19. He's a real hub of everything good that happens at Brentford, and he's unlucky not to get any points in game week 13 against Arsenal. Big chances as well. He hogs a lot of the big chances at 0.77, and also that translates in an expected FPL points per 90 of 6.28. So look, the fixtures right now are fantastic. It's the time to invest if you haven't already, and the underlying stats are brilliant. As I said, he's the talisman in this Brentford team. And the one thing I do want to highlight is when we get into the December period where it's so busy with fixtures, sometimes you just want to buy the players that are going to play the most minutes, and Mbeumo ticks all of those boxes. He's guaranteed to play every minute, he's on penalties, and he's the team's talisman with great fixtures. We don't really need to overthink it sometimes. It's as simple as buying Bryan Mbeumo. Now, the big question is, who do you sell him for? A lot of people are sat there with a Son, and he's been blanking the last 3 weeks. Some people have been sat there with a Jarrod Bowen with the injury risk. For me, I'm of the thought process of selling Bowen to Mbeumo and not selling Son to Mbeumo. That's the way I'm looking at it right now. I think Son to Mbeumo is a bit more of a headache because you can't go back to Son if you want to own him in the next few game weeks. But I think Bowen to Mbeumo is a move that I am considering right now. And if you don't own Mbeumo, just know that a lot of the FPL community are going to go there in game week 14. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Will you be owning him come this weekend? Next up, I need to talk about a few other differential midfielders in the game that are kind of flying under the radar or have been talked about, but not really bought going into this week. Now, it's worth noting, I may have told a little bit of a fib in terms of not being bought going into this weekend, because the most bought player going into game week 14 right now is Anthony Gordon. So I do apologise there. At 5.9 million, he is the talk of the town alongside Mbeumo. Obviously, that monster haul against Chelsea really did hurt me being a Chelsea fan, it is worth noting. So these are the 3 players that I want to discuss because they are in similar price ranges, but they offer very different values. Palmer at 5.3 million, Gordon at 5.9 million, and Doku at 6.7 million. I do just want to note that we have the fixtures wrong for Newcastle here. They haven't got, that is the Brentford fixtures. They actually have Man United at home, Everton away, Spurs away, Fulham at home, Luton away, and then Forest at home. We'll make sure those are in the comments just so you have a bit more of a clearer idea on who the Newcastle fixtures are. So please ignore the graphic regarding Newcastle fixtures. So firstly, let's talk about Gordon. 5.9 million. He's been a brilliant investment for anyone that did bring him in. Probably in them earlier wildcards in the season around game week 10, I imagine. 0.3 XG per 90. 0.22 expected assists per 90, and he's okay on the bonus at 0.55. And as I discussed, the entry point for the fixtures aren't as good as in Mbeumo for this week, but at home against Man United, we saw Everton put up nearly a 3 XG against them, and we know Newcastle at St James's Park are one of the best teams, maybe in the world, in terms of home fixtures. So I fully expect Newcastle to do a job on Man United once again. And Gordon's game time is fantastic right now. I see no reason why he's going to be replacing that team. And importantly, with the return of Alexander Isak playing as the forward, I think that really does help Anthony Gordon because he is better as a left winger rather than being deployed as a number 9. So that only enhances Gordon's FPL stock. If you're in the market for him, I can't really argue against him, to be honest with you. The numbers are great. He's a really well-rounded asset for both goal threat and chance creation. And as I mentioned, I fully expect him to play most minutes over this Christmas period. So if you're in the market for Gordon, I do not knock anybody going for him into game week 14. Now, at a cheaper price, Cole Palmer at 5.3 million. I'm somebody that bought him a few game weeks ago. I'm really happy with the way that he's been in this Chelsea team. Disappointed, obviously, in that Newcastle game, but really tricky fixture. 0.6 XG for Palmer, but it is worth noting again, he is the penalty taker for Chelsea. Now, at 5.3 million and being the penalty taker is unbelievable value. So that's a really good thing. In terms of open play XG, it does drop quite a bit to around 0.25. So he isn't necessarily as creative in terms of goal threat in open play. In terms of expected assists, it's decent at 0.32 as well. And the bonus points at 0.53. But again, a lot of those have come from when he has scored those big penalties in those big games like Arsenal and Man City, to name a few. But he is right up there for the predicted points for the next 4 game weeks at 15.2. And the fixtures are starting to turn good for Chelsea. Brighton at home, and it's worth noting Lewis Dunk won't be available for that game, so it looks like a decent fixture for goals in that fixture. Then Man United away, really tough to predict them. Everton away, another real tricky away game, and then Sheffield United at home. So I don't actually feel Cole Palmer is a desperate buy right now. I know a lot of the market are going there. I'm probably looking at hindsight because I own him already, so I don't really feel the desperation in him, but I'm a little bit worried about Cole Palmer going forward. I think he is one of Chelsea's most important players right now, but the introduction to Nkunku, the return of Amanda Broja, we don't really know how Chelsea are going to adapt with these players coming in. Raheem Sterling, such an experienced pro in that team, and really important to Pochettino to make sure there is actually some sort of experience in that front line. Otherwise, it's going to be a full of 22-year-olds. So I think Cole Palmer is a decent value pick, but I'm not as bullish as other FPL managers right now. And I would say to you, just tread carefully with him because I would not be surprised if we start to see a slow integration of him back out of the team with his minutes. I fully expect him to start, but don't be surprised if we start to see maybe some 70-minute substitutions because of the amount of attacking talent Pochettino has at his disposal over this Christmas period. Now, last up, I wanted to touch on Man City's Doku. 6.7 million, had a real rare occasion where he had no attacking returns, but got 3 bonus points in game week 13 against Liverpool, which was ridiculous. And I really wanted to highlight this on this graphic. So 0.13 expected goals is not too good. It's worth noting it's 6.7 million. If I was paying that for a player in a Man City team, I'd want to see that XG a lot higher. But he is the creator in that team at 0.44 XA. And we saw that in their game against Liverpool with his dribbling, trying to get to the touchline to cut the ball back for the likes of Haaland and, of course, Julian Alvarez. But the big factor here is 1.26 bonus per 90. This is a guy that does all the good stuff in FPL. Even if he doesn't return, his dribbles completed, he does a lot of efficient things in order for him to be good on the bonus baseline. Now, with the fixtures coming up, Spurs at home, Villa away, Luton away, Palace at home, then they do blanket, is worth noting, in game week 18. I just wanted to highlight Doku because at 6.7 million, I don't think anybody's going to go there because Mbeumo's at a similar price and we've got all these cheaper options in the shape of Gordon or Palmer. But the fixtures are turning really good for Man City, and only having Erling Haaland isn't really going to give you any sort of investment in the Man City attack because everybody pretty much owns Haaland. So if you were looking for a bit of a differential double up, you didn't want to go to Alvarez, I do think Doku is a shrewd investment over this period. Yes, his minutes could be rotated a little bit, but when he's in the team, he does have that real high ceiling and he's great on the bonus points as well. So please do consider Doku as well as a consideration, but I would have Mbeumo over him. Last up, I want to talk about a differential forward that is flying under the radar right now. It should be on the equation for all of us. And that is going to be Newcastle's Alexander Isak, returned from injury with a bang against Chelsea in game week 13. Newcastle was such a better team when Alexander Isak is in the side. And also Callum Wilson out. I don't expect him to return for the next few weeks, so it means Isak's game time is pretty much locked in. Now you can see the fixtures here. Man United at home, I think is a really good fixture to be honest with you. Then Everton away, Spurs away. Spurs will have Romero back over that period, so they might be a little bit better defensively. And then Fulham at home. But the numbers are ridiculous at Alexander Isak. 0.86 expected goals per 90. Expected assists at 0.05. I've discussed it before. I always want the forwards that hog the XG. And Alexander Isak is one of those players. Everything funnels through him when he is in the team. 1.72 big chances per 90 as well is ridiculous. Now, 19.9 predicted points over the next 4 is really, really solid. The big thing, really difficult to get to him because Ollie Watkins has been in good form, has Bournemouth away in game week 14, so you don't really want to move away from Watkins. However, if you have a 3-forward formation or you're looking to be a little bit different and you're having a no Haaland strategy, Isak has to be top of the pile right now for forwards because I think not many people are going to own him. Wilson's out, his game time's great. And I just think he's going to do so well over this period. He's such a class act. And Newcastle are just so good right now in the Premier League when they are at home for that 14 fixture. So let me know in the comments if you're looking to invest in Isak. I think he's a great differential pick. So that's going to wrap up today's video, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know in the comments which of these players you're potentially buying for game week 14. Make sure you do drop a like and smash the subscribe button. And I will see you in the next one. Take care. Cheers.